Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. In today's video, we got another movie review here for you. This time it is for Companion. This came out this past weekend, and of course, when I saw in the previews that it's from the creators of Barbarian, I had to go and see it. So what we're gonna do here is give you some non-spoiler thoughts first, and then we're gonna give the movie a rating, and then talk about the movie in a little bit more detail. Um, so I guess I'll go first. I would say this was a good movie. It was enjoyable. My only real criticism of it is that I feel like you could kind of watch the trailer and then you'd get the gist of what the entire movie is about. I feel like this movie didn't have nearly as much, um, I would say, extra crazy things you didn't expect to happen like Barbarian did. So maybe my hopes were a little too high, but at the same time, I feel like they weren't because I was just there to have a good time and, watch a movie and see some crazy things. But ultimately, when you watch the trailer, it's kind of about a sex doll that goes crazy and starts murdering people. That's basically about it. I will say though, it's more than that, I would say. It's not just, somebody went to like, I don't know, Spencer's or Cirilla's or whatever that they buy their stuff from and then took something off or took someone off the shelf and then booted it up. It's much more than that.
Hmm.
It's kind of like it's kind of like if iRobot was had a more of an adult theme than it did, because there's this idea that they're human. They're supposed to be treated like humans, so therefore they emulate being more like humans, and which ends up causing a problem later on in the movie, of course. But I don't know. I feel like there wasn't much here that we haven't seen before, but it was interesting to see. I thought the acting was great. There's a handful of people I didn't even realize were in this movie that I thought was kind of cool. Um, there's a character in this movie. His name is Sergey. His name is Rupert Friend, and he is from the Kenobi show. He was the Grand Inquisitor. Lucas Gage, he plays Patrick in this movie. He has been in a lot of movies lately. The most recent one that I know off the top of my head is Smile 2. He had a big role in that. Sophie Thatcher, she's the main lead for the sex doll, so to speak, and she was in Boba Fett. So a lot of Star Wars stuff here going on, and of course Jack Quaid, Dennis Quaid's son. So there's some exciting things going on here with the actors and the actresses. It was really cool to bring them all together, but ultimately, I just kind of feel like the movie didn't have exactly what I was looking for. So I would probably recommend a streaming view, especially since we saw it in IMAX, and I feel like it didn't really add anything in IMAX. But what did you think?
Yeah, I didn't really see a reason necessarily for IMAX. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of stunning views necessarily, or like explosions or anything that like you would want to see pop in an IMAX showing.
There was one thing that I thought was cool with the IMAX sound. And I'm not going to say what it was for, but there was a stun baton, and the sound of the stun baton was really good. But if that's the best thing that you got coming out of an IMAX film, I'm not quite sure that movie really belongs.
Yeah, the next thing that I was going to say is that there wasn't a whole lot of music that hit super hard like that too. Like, there was some decent music, but I don't know that it was IMAX necessary. It didn't have that punch or that delivery. I think it's really interesting to have a movie that's based on essentially a sex doll, but I don't think there was any nudity in this.
Zero.
There was,
I even
there was
checked.
no emphasis on that actual aspect of her. They really focused more on her being a companion, rather than just having a raunchy film. So I thought that was an interesting take.
Yeah, I even looked up on IMDb. I was like, did I miss something? And even on IMDb, they say there's no nudity. I mean, the closest we get to nudity in this movie is someone taking a shower and, you see their back. That's
Yep.
about it. There's two scenes that are probably the mildest looking sex scenes I've ever seen because one was right after they were done, and then the second one was behind closed doors and you just heard them. So it wasn't really that graphic in that sense either. It was more graphic with the violence.
Yes. Yep, I would agree. So I just thought that was an interesting take, being for the type of film that this is. You kind of would expect more of that, and there really wasn't. And I feel like that's because they try to focus more on the story, which sounds great, but as Jeremy said, there wasn't a whole lot that was super unanticipatable. I'm making that word up, but I think it fits with what we're talking about here. Um, Most of the things you could kind of piece together. There were a few funny things, like you see in the trailer, they say how she's tied up, and then we can see in the background how she's actually running away, and so clearly she's not tied up, but the guy doesn't know that. That's in the trailer. So there's some other things like that that are good, funny moments. Lots of hints at comedy just like that. But I think, as Jeremy said, they didn't really push the envelope like they did with Barbarian. And so the expectations were just a little bit higher for having some craziness, if you will. There's a couple characters that I wish we would have had a little bit more screen time with. And I think that's about all I'm going to say in the non-spoiler section. And I can emphasize more on what I'm talking about when we get over to spoilers. Um, I think that's where I'll leave that at. It wasn't anything that was too drastic. It's just like, oh, I wish we would have seen more of this, that kind of thing.
So with that being said, what would you give the movie out of 10?
I think I'm gonna land at an 8. I did really enjoy it. I liked the movie. I thought it was a fun watch. I thought there was some level of craziness. It just wasn't quite what I was hoping for. But I think the idea, like the premise of the movie and how they handled it, I thought was, to me, it was unique. So I liked it.
So for me, I think it's an above average film, but again, I feel like it wasn't much beyond what the trailer was, and so that kind of leaves a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth. But I think I'm gonna go with a 6 out of 10. So a little bit lower than you. Like I said, I think it's good for streaming. Check it out then. But as far as, spending, I don't know what it is, like 10 or 12 bucks to go see a movie and then popcorn and all that. And I think it's really one that you don't need to throw that kind of money at. And unfortunately, I don't think this movie is going to do insanely good at the theater. I think it was kind of an early of the year movie on purpose, but at the same time, it had a little bit of substance there because there was some uniqueness to it. One of the things that I liked about the movie is that they like when you're like if you're talking to a person and you're trying to degrade them as a person, you talk to them, with people words whereas here they when he was talking to her and he was talking down to her, it was interesting because he was kind of using words as if she was a robot, but it fit really nicely. It's kind of hard to explain, like you kind of have to watch it to see what I'm talking about, but I feel like there was some good attention to detail with how the dialogue was going on a good handful of times. So that's what I got with that.
Nice.
So an 8 and a 6 here. So we're gonna transition to spoilers. And now we're gonna go ahead and tell you what the movie's about. And like I said, the majority of the trailer is the movie. But basically, we have our main characters. They're all a bunch of friends, right? And we have Josh was his name. He's the main character, played by um, I know his last name's Quaid, Jack Quaid. and they're going to a house. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. They really set the tone that something's weird about our sex doll character. Her name is Iris.
Companion.
Companion. Okay, we'll call her Companion from now on. Um, Something's off about Iris because when they arrive at the house, their friend, well, before they even go in, Josh is kind of like, "What's wrong? Is there something you want to talk about?" And Iris is talking about how one of the friends named Kat is very standoffish, and Josh basically says to her, "Don't worry, just act happy, everything will be fine." And so when they go to the door and Kat is excited to see Josh, she's very, very standoffish to Iris. And so that really set the tone right away of even for me thinking like, okay, either this lady is, really, really rude or something's really going on with Iris. And I feel like both of those things were true in a way. So they get there, they meet all their friends there. It's, kumbaya, everybody's happy. We have, let's see, the friends that we have. I already talked about Kat. There's also, looking for his name. Where are you?
Eli and Patrick.
Yeah, Eli, and then Patrick, like Sarah just said, and
And
then
they're a couple.
someone else comes down the stairs. This was Sergey.
Yep.
And Sergey is like at least to me, he seemed like the misfit of the group. Like I did not see him being a part of this group. He seemed much older than everybody else. He seemed a little bit more experienced slash mature than anybody else. There's something about him that really separated him from the group. And he was very welcoming. He actually was, in my opinion, nicer to Iris than most of the other people. And so we have this group of people. They're all hanging out at this house for the weekend. And then uh, what I thought was kind of weird was, well, so after the first day, they wake up the next day, and Josh says to Iris basically, like, enjoy your day and just walk around, go hang out, have a great day. And I thought that was really weird. Like, I felt like if she's your companion and she's supposed to be essentially your girlfriend in a way, um, thought it was really weird that he was telling her to be separate from the group. And so that was kind of my first indication of something's going on with him. This is really strange. Um, So she decides to take a stroll down to the lake. It's a lake house. And Sergey approaches her. Like there's two chairs out there. He sits down and you can tell she's uncomfortable. She notices, but right before he gets there, she notices that she has a pocket knife in her pocket, like a switchblade, basically. And while Sergey's there, she wants to leave. She's not super comfortable around him, and he kind of guilts her into staying to hang out with him. And then he asks her, "Hey, can you put suntan lotion on my back and shoulders?" Which again, kind of weird for her, but she does it anyways. And while she's doing that, he grabs her hand, and you can tell what's about to happen, especially since we know what kind of a person she is. She's a companion for certain things, right? And he's trying to basically use her as a companion. One thing that's interesting about the companion robots, though, is that they fixate on their lover. It's not like they're a lover for everybody. They're locked in to who is their companion. So she's very uncomfortable about what he's doing. He's pulling her in closer, and he said something along the lines of like, Kat said it was okay because I guess him and Kat have a thing going on, even though he's a married man. And so this pushes her to go beyond her limits, which was strange, like her limits of not being nonviolent, because she takes out that um, pocket knife, stabs him, kills him, and then she shows up, in the house and makes everybody go crazy. But what's weird about it to us as the audience right now is that when we, saw kind of the backstory of her, we know that they're non-violent. They're not supposed to harm humans. So what caused this? Um, Sarah, do you want to tell them what's going on with that?
Yeah, so essentially we Josh kind of sits her down to say goodbye in essence, and then tells her everything about, like you're a robot, all your memories are fake, and all of that kind of stuff. And essentially, he's put a mod on her programming to allow her to be violent and to have aggression. Because am I just skipping right to the main plot point here?
Totally fine.
All right. So essentially, Josh and Kat have an idea that Sergei's got $12 million hidden behind this painting in the bedroom. And they want that money. But how can they get it? Well, he's got to be dead. And what's an easier way to make him dead than to have Iris kill him? Because then there's no blood on Josh's hands or Kat's hands, right? So that's why he made the mod to make Iris kill him. Um, but she doesn't understand any of this stuff. She has memories of like when they fell in love and all of that stuff. And so they keep like replaying those types of scenes because they're shells of memories that are just part of her programming, I guess. Um, while Josh walks away to go talk to Kat, manages to escape and kind of get her pocket knife that's on the other side of the room. So she's able to get free. She, I think, is able to run away with Josh's phone too, which has all of her
Yeah.
programming on it. So,
So I
go
do
ahead.
want to talk about that.
Go ahead.
So she runs away with his phone, and his phone is how he controls her, right? And like changes her settings and whatnot. What I didn't understand is why wouldn't he just take Kat's phone, download the app, log in, and then, you know, adjust her settings, turn her off?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay, we'll ignore that plot point. Continue.
Because it's on his phone, Jeremy. That's why, I guess. I don't know. Um, But yeah, so that's how she turns off the voice control. So he can't like tell her to go to sleep, which essentially puts her in rest mode. And that's when she cranks up her intelligence, like we see in the trailer. But I thought it was weird because when we were doing like backflashes to when he first got her, they essentially described 100% intelligence as like an Ivy League graduate. But her at 100% intelligence did not seem like that.
I
I mean,
thought they were I
she
thought
was
they were gonna
smarter than she
show
was, but not like that.
I thought they were gonna show her like seeing the world with mathematics all over the place to kind of give that idea of how smart she is, but they didn't do that.
Yeah, she she had obviously had an intelligence boost, but it seemed to me more like she went from 40% to maybe like 65%. Like she's smarter, but not 100%. So that was a little weird. Uh, the next big chunk of the movie is really more of a cat and mouse game of the rest of the friend group trying to get her and her trying to escape because she doesn't want them to kill her. She doesn't want to be framed for murder. She doesn't think it's her fault because, he messed with her programming. Um, we do eventually find out when Eli and Patrick are out and about that Patrick is also another companion for Eli, but that Eli is like way more in love with him than what Josh was with Iris. I think Josh was really more using Iris just because he didn't want to be alone, not necessarily because he was allowing himself to fall in love with her. He was being a lot more selfish about it than how Eli and Patrick are. Eli and Patrick seem more like a legit actual couple. Um, but they find out about the plan, so they're gonna split the money three ways, and so now Eli's kind of on board with trying to catch Iris. That way he can get part of that $12 million. Well, Iris said 100% intelligence. She finds a way to escape. So Eli's got a gun from Sergei's safe, and there's a struggle between him and Iris. Iris ends up shooting him, so now Eli's dead. Patrick is devastated because, he's his companion, and now his owner is gone. Um, Josh ends up reprogramming Patrick to be his companion. So now both Iris and Patrick are programmed to be companions to Josh. But Patrick is actually loyal, like he has control over him. Unlike Iris, who kind of turned off her controls. Um, which still seems kind of weird that she's like independent but not independent. Um, where do we go from here? So she takes the car. It's a self-driving car, and she manipulates her voice on the phone so that she sounds like Josh, so that the voice recognition in the car thinks that Josh is there to try to drive her home.
One of the things I thought was cool about this scene was so when she first grabbed his phone and ran away from the house, she was messing with the settings and seeing what she could do to herself. She was like changing her own eye color, changing her voice a little bit just to see what her different voices could be. And what was interesting about that is she probably didn't remember what the exact number was that she was on. So when she went to get in that car later and she tried to, say, go home as Josh's girlfriend, her tone was probably just off that it didn't recognize her tone in the car. So then, like you said, then she had to, mess with it. And
I don't think she ever had access to the car. I think it was just him.
I thought she did. Because why would she try it without trying to sound like him?
I don't think she knew that it had to be him
Oh, that's not how I interpret it.
because she only had 40% intelligence before. So if I've always been able to turn on the car before, why can't I now? But really, it's because he would say things. But anyway, um, so he manages to use Kat's phone to report the car stolen. So the car pulls over and stops. And this is kind of one of the more funny parts of the movie again, I think, of she kicks out the window and a sheriff stops and is trying to ask her, like what's going on. But before he gets up to her, she quick switches her language to German. So he can't really understand anything that she's saying. Like he's asking like, "Oh, you're from Sergey's house? How's he doing?" And she can't lie because part of the companion thing is that they can't ever lie. So she's saying in German that he's dead, but the guy doesn't know German to know that she's saying that. So here she is confessing a murder and he has no idea. Um, but at this point, Patrick catches up to them, and so Patrick, he's got his aggression turned up 100%. So he just brutally murders this cop and captures Iris and brings her back to Josh. Right? So in the cop car. So of course now they're wondering like, "Oh my gosh, where did this cop car come from? What did you do to the cop?" Like this is getting messy fast. So Kat wants to skedaddle. She packs up a suitcase full of money. She says she's gonna leave. Josh says, "Hey Patrick, stop her." Thinking like, he'd just grab her or something, but no, he sticks a big chef knife like right in her back. And this is one of the things that I was saying, like I wish we would have got more screen time with because yes, she got stabbed and it's a pretty bad wound, but I don't know that it was necessarily fatal. I feel like she probably had a car there of some sort, and they are pretty far from civilization, but to me it seemed like she could have gotten herself somewhere to get help. Um, but they just play it off as she died at the cabin. So I thought that was kind of weird. Did you feel that way too, or wish that we would have got a little more closure with her?
I just assumed she was dead. I mean, she got stabbed in the back. Uh, I didn't foresee her surviving that.
Yeah.
We didn't get the Hollywood magic that some people get.
Yep. Um, so Iris is captured again, and he turns her intelligence down to zero, and now Josh is just really being a jerk. He basically melts her hand because he's trying to prove that she's a robot, so that means she can't feel pain, but she can, but she can't, and he's just basically burning her alive, or robot alive, or whatever you want to call it.
And he has to figure out a cover up.
Well, why don't you take it from here?
So, he's basically got the 12 million to himself, and she's murdered plenty of people at this point. And so Josh doesn't want to get any sort of blame for what happened. He also finds out that Iris knows exactly what Josh was planning because she overheard, I think it was Eli talking about the stuff out in the woods, like when she was initially running from everybody, and then, Eli caught up to her, and then she killed Eli. During that time, she heard Eli talking about this plan about killing Sergei to take the money. And so, he doesn't want her to blab about it and him get in trouble. And so he has to have some sort of cover up to make sure that he doesn't get seen as a bad guy. So he instructs her to take a gun and shoot herself, and it knocks her out for a little bit, and then he calls the company to come pick her up, which is funny because he also has Patrick go and take the clothes off of the dead cop. Like they compile all these bodies together out in the woods, and he takes the cop's uniform. And so when the people from the company show up, they think that Patrick is a cop, and then they're taking Iris away. They're talking to Josh a little bit, and what Josh finds out is that being if the robot is shot in the head, it doesn't really do anything as far as the memory. The memory unit is in her torso. And so now he's also worried because when they take like this whole like warranty slash safety issue, the way that they make sure that nobody's lying about it is that they take the robot back to headquarters basically. They run through the memory to make sure because the robots record everything that they see, everything that they hear. If they find out that what was told to them was wrong, well then of course, the people can't have like a lawsuit against them, or, you know, they could technically have a lawsuit against Josh for all the stuff that he's been doing. And so because Josh finds out about this, as those people are taking Iris to their vehicle, he instructs Patrick to go and take care of them. So Iris comes out. He's in the middle of the road. It's actually a scene from one of the trailers. And this is when one of the workers finally realizes, oh, hey, that's actually one of our robots. We discontinued that model a handful of years ago. And so once they realize that is when Patrick aims the gun at them and takes out the driver. The passenger gets out of the vehicle and runs away. So now Patrick's chasing after the passenger, and once he catches up to him, Iris also catches up to them as well. And basically, Patrick kind of has this meltdown because Iris is telling him, all this stuff is fake. Josh was basically using you. He's not your true lover. Eli was. And while this is happening, Patrick is kind of going back through his memory logs and realizing that, kind of the memories with Eli almost seem like they were overwritten by Josh in a way. And so once he kind of realizes that he's basically being used as a tool and not, actually loved by somebody, he commits suicide basically. And he takes the stun baton that I mentioned was like the one cool sound. He puts it in his mouth and he fries himself. And so Patrick is no longer with us, and so Iris is kind of talking to the guy from the company that got away, the guy that was the passenger, and he's able to mess with some of her settings so that she can go after Josh. And so now,
That was one of the other things that I thought was weird is one, whatever happened to Teddy? Like, did he just run away? Did he take the car? Did he call the cops? Like, we never see him again
oh
after.
yeah,
Seemed kind of a weird ending to his character. Like they just didn't want to pay for him to say another line or be in another scene or something. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But two was if she already had control, like she's not at 0% intelligence anymore because she's actually able to talk and talk to Patrick about all these different memories and stuff, which when she was first put at 0% intelligence, she couldn't stop herself from burning her own hand because her intelligence was that low. She couldn't say this hurts or, take her hand away. She just blindly followed whatever she was told to do. So her talking to Patrick about all these memories and stuff, I don't feel like she's at 0% intelligence anymore. So that means she must
no,
have somehow gotten it back in control of
she
her
got
stuff
rebooted.
yeah, when she got rebooted. So does that mean she has free control again? Like why did she say that Teddy gave her free control? 'Cause she asked him for a favor and it seemed like she almost didn't even need to.
Well, if she was completely like factory reset, she would no longer have a companion. So I don't understand why she would have any like how Josh would have any sort of control over her. So I think she would be like a free companion.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed odd.
Maybe she locked in with Teddy. He told her what to do, like mess with the settings, and then sent her in. We're basically making this all up because we did not get to see this part.
Yeah. But this is what I'm saying is I wish we would have got a little bit more screen time with this guy too to really figure out like what do you mean he gave you free will? Like it seemed like she kind of already had that. But
You know?
anyway,
So she goes into the house, has a little bit of a tussle with Josh, eventually takes out Josh, kills him,
but this
and
was payoff from earlier in the movie because they kept focusing on an electric wine cork remover over and over. They showed this thing, and she used that to drill a hole into his skull. So that was pretty gruesome and gory, gross. They
yeah,
didn't
and
didn't really show a whole lot of gore. It's just you can imagine it, like it sounds gross.
they gave her a nice one-liner to take him out. It was the thing that they say for her to turn off. She was like, "Josh, go to sleep," kind of a thing. And then she did that to him, and then yeah, he went nighty night. Needless to say.
Yep.
Uh, so all the human people, minus Teddy, are dead, and Iris basically gets to try to live her own life. She so one of the things that she did is when Josh was burning her hand, it like really burnt up the heck out of her arm. And so when she was in the shower, she just peeled everything off and saw her robot hand and just kind of embraced it, really. Um, which honestly, there's people that um, have robotic arms in real life. So to a point, maybe people still wouldn't see her as different, as in like a companion. But it makes me wonder in this world, is a companion as normal as, just seeing anything else in the world? Are they recognizable by other people? I don't know.
Well, the one guy was only able to recognize Patrick as being one once he realized it was like an older model. Like I don't know that there's multiple of the same looking person out there because we also learned that they don't buy these things, they rent them, and I gotta imagine they're not cheap. So like only the expensive elite people can afford these things.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird concept, but again, that I'm glad you brought that up because that's one of the things that I was saying about how like it's a way to insult a robot, but it's not really what you would say to a human. So it's kind of like saying, you were I was using you, for my own pleasure. That's exactly what he's saying by telling her you were a rental. Like, because I think she even mentions something like how she envisioned that once she locked eyes with him, that he was her forever guy for the rest of her life. Like she really valued that they were together. And so when he tells her you were a rental, then that tells her that he did not see her as a forever, you know, thing together. So I thought it was kind of creative things like that that really made the movie a little bit more unique.
Yeah.
But that's basically the movie. So um, again, a couple of nitpicky things along the way. Like I said, why didn't he just log into someone else's phone and power her down? But that we're gonna ignore that, right? Um, Between that and just because the film didn't really go beyond what I thought it was gonna be, that's why I would knock it down a handful of points. Um, it's a decent streaming watch. Any other thoughts for the movie?
Um, no, not really. Just overall, it was pretty good, but there were some issues. It wasn't perfect by any means.
I will say, aside from Sergey being a sleazeball, I kind of wish his character was in the movie more. I felt like his was the most interesting out of anybody, but he only was there for like 20 minutes,
Yeah.
if that. So. All right, well, that was our movie review of Companion. We have movies the next couple of weeks lined up for us. So we got Hard Eyes coming out, and there's another one. What's the other big one that we got? I think it's in
Ooh.
I think it's in two
I
weeks.
am blanking right now. It is Captain America.
Ah, yes, Captain America. I'm looking forward to seeing Harrison Ford. He's actually what I'm most excited to see is Harrison Ford and Red Hulk.
Yeah.
I don't even care about Captain America. Honestly, I'm just not that big of a fan of Captain America in general. I would much rather see like Iron Man or something, but
Spider-Man.
yeah, Spider-Man. It's whatever. But
We'll
again,
s- we'll have an open mind. We'll see we'll let you guys know if we like the movie or not and if you should go see it.
absolutely. So, if you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Drops a like if you like the video and drops a comment letting us know your thoughts on Companion. And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.